Hello everyone. In this session, I am going to talk about Ben Jonson and his great play, The Alchemist. Ben Jonson was an English playwright and poet. He was born on 11 June 1572 in London and died on 16 August 1637 in London. He was an English playwright and poet. He is best known for satirical plays such as Everyman in his Humour and the great play Alchemist. The Alchemist is a comedy by English playwright Ben Jonson, first performed in 1610 by the King's Men. It is generally considered as Jonson's best and most characteristic comedy. So let's talk about the title, The Alchemist. The title of this play shows that the character is a man who knows or claims to know the science of alchemy. Alchemy was believed to be science by means of which the base or inferior metals could be converted into gold or silver. Of course, no such process has been developed by science so far, but the centuries and the olden times efforts were made by scholarly and learned individuals to discover or to develop such a method. It was common in olden times to speak of the philosopher's stone, which was regarded as a kind of medicine having the power to transform inferior metals into gold and silver. In this play, Subtle claims that he knows the alchemical process by which base metals can be transformed into gold. In fact, he claims that he has already begun the process in his laboratory and in due course the process would be completed. Of course, Subtle is a forced and a cheater. He is out to make money by playing upon the credulity of men like Mammon. He thus throws dust into eyes of all his clients. Subtle's alchemical process is only an act for make believe, but his client became easy victims of his fraud. So let's talk about the themes of The Alchemist. The first theme is, it is also known as a comedy of humors. The real theme of the play is greed and lust. Alchemy is only incidental to this theme. Alchemist is essentially a comedy of humors. Humor means some special characteristics in an individual, some oddity, some abnormal kind of disposition, some mental bias, some desire which obsesses the mind of an individual. In this play, Jonson concentrated mainly on one humor, which is greed. This is the passion which dominates all the characters. However, there is one character who, in addition to having this humor, shows another humor also, and that is lust or a desire for unlimited sexual gratification. It is Mammon. He too comes to Subtle with the aim to become wealthy, but he at the same time has certain other aims as well. With the power of the philosopher's stone at his command, he would like to maintain a large harem of mistresses, and the two anarchists came to the alchemist so that with the power of the philosopher's stone they can raise their sect to great heights of influence and authority, and at the same time enrich themselves and feel fatten their ego. And the most important characterization in this is Jonson's comic characterization is one of his great achievements. He has wide and penetration observation of manners of city, but his great excellence in both his tragedies and his comedies is their delineation of character. And he uses verses with a great mind. The Alchemist is a play in verse. In this play, prose is used very sparkingly. All the characters use verse in their speeches. The principal meter used is blank verse, rhyme having been employed at only a few points. The use of blank verse serves to emphasize the essential unity of the play. The language and the forms of syntax are always appropriate to the character and situation. So that's all about the characterization, themes, and significance of the title. So now let's start the story. The Alchemist, the play. The Alchemist tells the story of three cheaters. It describes how these cheats practice fraud on a number of credulous persons who are easily taken in by the false promises and assurance which they receive from the cheats. In fact, the play is a satire on greed, equitiveness, and sensuality. There is only one man in the whole play who resists the temptation offered by the cheats. In the end, the cheats are exposed. Two of them have to flee to save themselves from arrest by the police, but the third manages to save himself. The play opens in the house of a man called Lovett in the city of London. The plague has been spread in the city, so Lovett has gone away to his country home. He has left his house in the charge of butler Jeremy, and the butler wants to make the best use of his master's house. He enters into a partnership with two persons, a man and a woman. The man, called Subtle, pretends to be an alchemist. He claims that he can produce the philosopher's stone. It would have the power to transform base metal into gold. It would be able to cure all kinds of disease, and the woman called Volpone is actually a prostitute, but she poses to be a respectable woman and a helper of the alchemist. Jeremy, the butler, functions as an assistant to the alchemist. His duty is to blow upon the coals in the furnace in the laboratory set up by Subtle in one of the rooms of the house. Jeremy also disguises himself as an army captain. He goes out in search of credulous clients. He invites them to Subtle laboratory in order to rob them. Subtle gives them false assurance regarding the power of the philosopher's stone to satisfy all their wishes and desire. Subtle is well expert in the language of the pseudoscience called alchemy. He can talk at length about the principle on which this science is based. He is capable of impressing his clients. All the clients of Subtle have to pay a price for their greed because each of them wants to become rich through the philosopher's stone. So, it is the brief summary. Let's start in detail. The Gulling of Dapper. Dapper is the lawyer's clerk. He wants that the alchemist should provide him an attendant spirit who might enable him to win money at horse races, at card parties, and at dice parties. Dapper wants to become a whole time gambler In order to win money and become a wealthy man, Subtle assures him that his wish would be fulfilled. Dapper is made enough money to pay to Subtle. At the end, he finds himself poorer than before. The next is the Gulling of Drugger. Drugger is by profession a tobacconist. He is going to build a new shop. He wants the doctor's advice as to where he should install the door and the shelves so that he can achieve prosperity in his business. Subtle makes a prophecy of a bright future for Drugger. He tells the drugger that he is also well expert in the science of palmistry and astrology and in face reading as well. He then gives the needful instruction to drugger regarding the location of the door at his new shop. At a suggestion by Face, drugger gives enough money to the doctor as his fee. On his next visit, Drugger bought a rich heavy suit for the doctor. He also brings Castril, who has come from the countryside to the town with his widowed sister, Dane Plant. Subtle is able to create a good impression upon both Castril and Dane Plant. He gives a lesson to Castril in the art of quarreling. He is also able to kiss Dame Plant. It is now Faith's desire to obtain Dame Plant as wife of for himself, though he gives Drugger the impression that he would arrange matters in such a way that Dame Plant would get ready to marry him. Later, Dame Plant is introduced to a Spanish Don who is in reality an Englishman by the name of Surly. Surly has represents himself as a rich Spaniard. He has gone to the alchemist establishment to discover the secret of his business and then reporting the matter to the police. He proposes to marry Dame Plant, but Face destroyed his chance of marrying the rich widow. In the end, Face master Lovett marries her. The next is the Gulling of Mammon. Sir Epicure Mammon is another client of Subtle. He comes to Subtle in the company of a friend called Surly. Mammon has been told by Subtle that the philosopher's stone would be ready for him on a particular day. He tells Surly that through the philosopher's stone he would become very rich. At the same time, he would like to enjoy sensual pleasures. He would maintain a regular harem of wives and other women. Mammon is fully convinced that Subtle would produce the philosopher's stone and hand it over to him on the appointed day. Mammon asks Face to produce Doll for his sexual gratification. Doll pretends that she has got a fit of madness, whereupon Mammon's love making comes to an end. There is now an explosion in the laboratory. Subtle finds Mammon in Doll's company. He now declares that it is because of Mammon's sinful desire in sexual pleasure that the alchemical process has collapsed. Thus, Subtle is able to put the whole blame for the failure of his experiment on Mammon. Mammon, who has already paid a lot of money, has now go away disappointed and also feeling ashamed of his sinful conduct. Face asks him to apologize of his sinful action and also donate a sum of £100 to a mental hospital. Of course, this donation would also go into the pockets of the cheats. So next is the Gulling of Castro and Dame Plant. Castrel is told by Face that the doctor, Subtle, is a most competent man. He knows many arts and possesses many skills. Castrel is a young man from the countryside. He has come to London to learn city manners, especially the art of quilting. Subtle gives him some lessons, uh, and Kestrel also wants that his widowed sister, Dame Plant, should get married to somebody not below the status of a knight. Face and Subtle introduce Dame Plant to a Spanish don who is Mammon's friend Surly. They ask her to submit to the Spanish don's lovemaking, and the Spanish don, means Surly, tells Dame Plant that she has fallen into the hands of thieves. He also proposes marriage to her, and she says that she would think over his proposal. And the next is the Gulling of the Anabaptists, who is the brother of Amsterd. There are two Anabaptists, Aeneas and Tribulation. They have come to Subtle, who had promised to provide the company with the philosopher's stone. The stone would make the Anabaptists rich and enable them to extend their influence and their authority over their followers. Subtle has already received a hug sum of money from brother of Amestron, but now he demands more money. The Anabaptists pay more money to Subtle, and they are also prevailed upon to buy from Subtle a large quantity of metallic articles which Mammon had sent to Subtle for being converted into gold. Subtle pretends that the profit from the sale of these goods would go to the orphans. In the long run, the Anabaptists, like other clients of Subtle, get nothing. They find themselves poorer. And the next is the sudden and unexpected return of Lovett. The three cheats are still actively at work. Suddenly and unexpectedly, the master of the house returned to his house. The neighbors crowd around Lovett. They inform him that many visitors have been coming to his house during his absence and that they had observed a lot of activity here. Lovett finds the door of his house shut. Then Face appears before his master. He pretends that he had kept the house shut for over a month because the house had been visited by plague. Face has now shaved himself and has appeared before his master as Jeremy the butler. The various persons who had been cheated and robbed their money by Subtle and Face have not come to know that they are merely frauds. They all now crowd at Lovett's house and they ask about the doctor and Face. Face is standing there, but his ex-client cannot recognize him because he has shaved off the beard, which he was keeping as captain. He is now living as butler. From inside the house come the voices of Dapper and Subtle, but Face misleads the master by saying that these are the voices of the spirit of the air. Lovett tells the butler to tell him the truth or be prepared to face the consequences. He begs his master's forgiveness, saying that he would in return do anything for his master. Lovett thereupon forgives the butler. The butler manages to have Dame Plain, the rich young widow, married to Lovett. When the ex-client of Subtle claims for action being taken against the fraud, Lovett meantime already sent Subtle and Doll away through the back door. He did not allow them to take away the slightest part of collected booty with them. The group of ex-clients of Subtle were unable to find the frauds into the house, so they all feel panic when Surly learns that young widow has got married to Love It. He feels that his honesty done him no good. Thus, the ultimatum gainer in the whole enterprise are Face, means Journey, and Love It. So that's all about the play. Thank you so much for listening so carefully.